What is going on? You are watching and, of course, listening to Tags Live, aka Talk About Gay Sex, the live edition, where we're here every Wednesday night on the Crowdcast platform. Of course, we're on YouTube and wherever you get your podcast. I am your host, Steve V. This is episode 782, alongside Teddy Alexis. How you doing, Teddy?
Hey, girl, hey!
Really good to see you again, as always. Yes, Cody Maurice Doggett has the night off. He's marketing for us tonight, I'll say that. But he'll be back soon. But we have got... How are you, though?
I'm great. Always happy to do the live version, which is my favorite. You know, I like the other one too, but, you know, this is my jam for sure.
Yeah, I'm obsessed with everything live. It's just, it makes it a little bit more challenging, but I love it. We are in front of a live virtual audience and we want to hear from you. I see some faces coming into the chat. So please bring your questions. And with that, we need to bring up our very special guest. What a treat to have somebody come back. And this was a story back in 2023. Let me just introduce you to John, reintroduce you. Hello, John. How are you? Good to see you.
Hello. How are you guys?
Very good. Our guest tonight is someone, basically a longtime listener. You may remember from a very powerful conversation we had back in 2023. I know, 2023, my goodness. When John, either way, you told me either way, first joined us. He opened up about receiving an HIV diagnosis. And actually, you had asked us for advice. And Cody Maurice Doggett and myself were on a very long call with you and thought your story sounded like a film and we had to have you on the show. Well, just to refresh people's memory, at that time, you opened up about receiving an HIV diagnosis, the complicated experience of having previously been misdiagnosed in 2015, and the toxic relationship, which ultimately, was a marriage, and personal challenges that shaped his life during that time. You know, what stayed with me was your willingness to speak honestly about your experiences that are often surrounded by fear, shame, stigma, silence. Well, now Johnny is returning with a new perspective. You have a new podcast that will allow you to tell your story more fully in your own voice, in your own terms. So today we're picking up where we kind of left off from that last conversation and asking you, why now? Tell us the name of this podcast. What has been going on for the last 3 years?
So, to be completely frank, the last 3 years has been a stumble and a fall and get back up, right? So I had an issue with the job that there was a whole draw out with that. I got fired essentially for being of a homosexual persuasion. So that was fun, but I live in Oklahoma, so we're a right to work state. So, and those kinds of things, it's hard to prove. But to draw back to why now, a couple of reasons. I actually had a severe loss this year. My best friend's mom had been almost like a reincarnation of my mom. And I lost my mom when I was a kid. I lost my mom when I was 13. And when I say reincarnation, I mean same height, same mouth, same attitude, same first and middle name, like the whole shabab. And so while she could never fill those shoes, she came pretty close. And last June of all months, while I'm trying to celebrate and be happy, we get the prognosis that she gets cancer. And she had 2 weeks left to live. And she well surpassed that. We actually lost her this May, just a few weeks, not even a few weeks. I think it was a week after Mother's Day. And so I went and spent my last Mother's Day with her in hospice, and she was non-communicative and she was just there. But leading up to that, I had sent her the link to this podcast and I had told her about the wonderful experience, how great it was to talk to you guys, and that initial interview that I had with you guys, and how, you guys had said this, like you said, it's like a movie, it's like a book, it's all these things. And she was like, you should do this. you should write this book. It would make a difference. It would touch people. And so I'd started, and then the hang up was, well, how do I end it, right? Like, how do I end this book? And so I just stopped. And then I went back to writing, and I gave it to the few people that I was close to, both family and people that I consider family, and got mixed reviews. And one of the people that I'm the closest to had very negative things to say and basically shut me down. And so I was like, okay, well, maybe I'm just not supposed to write this. Maybe it's just, it is what it is. And so, but leading up to when she's passing, she made me promise. She's like, please tell me that you're going to make a difference with your life. You've been through too much. And so it was at her dinner after the funeral, and I'm there with all of her siblings and her mom and dad who are in their 80s. And I broke down crying, and I was like, I have to do something now. Like, I have to, because at this point, it's not even just about me. It's about honoring her. It's about honoring her wishes. And so she did the thing that I hope that this podcast does, which is make people not feel so alone. And really, I hope with this podcast, you know, I don't want to say you have to be gay or you have to be gay friendly to hear it. I want any and everybody to be able to hear it, but understand there's a sense of community that can come out of it. And, you know, we live in a really difficult time right now where it feels like we have no community, whether it's within our own community or the communities around us. And so I just really hope that this will give people a sense of belonging, a sense of, hey, he made that mistake that one time. And so here we are. And I just want people to see hope in this podcast, honestly.
I love it. The power of storytelling, the power of, you know, a book can reach so many people, but the podcast, as we've learned on this show, can reach people in real time, and you can tell your story how you want to tell it. And your story, like we said, was very impactful. Being misdiagnosed in 2015 and then finding out later that you were in 2021 HIV positive, dealing with that stigma, dealing with a marriage that you had met your partner only in 2 months and then got married, and your words you said was toxic, and it sounded like it really was. You've told us offline that you're friends with him now, which is full circle moment, which I think is really great. But it's a story. And I think storytelling and our queer stories are, you know, yes, we've seen them in film and play and musicals, but we need more of them, and we need more to really relate to each other. But Teddy, I know you had to want to dive deep because it's such a rich story. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I really wanted to tag into the storytelling overall because, as you know, the listeners know, I teach history of theater, and something that really, I know we're going to delve into a little bit of cultural differences a little bit. Something that really puts human together, it's that the way that we communicate is telling stories. And what we've done, how we're setting up this modern era, is that we have eliminated the power of certain communities to tell their own stories. So when people are telling you that nobody wants to listen to your story, that's very violent, I think, because as humans, I believe that they're very basic needs that we have, and one of the three needs that we have is water, food, and tell our story. That's the three things that I believe that we need. And when that is happening to you, I really it hurts me, because I do teach people how to tell their own stories, and we have to be expansive on how to retell our story. So I know that you have this background that is indigenous as well. Is there anything in your background in terms of mythology that you're kind of living into your own reality through this podcast? Because podcast is storytelling, by the way. Absolutely.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I mean, so being indigenous, it's one of those things of like, we tell stories, right? And that's one of the things that I think keeps us going. There are two major storytelling situations that come to mind. We had Killers of the Flower Moon filmed where I'm from. And all of the Native Americans that you see, whether they were dying or they were living, with the exception of the actress who played Molly Burkhart, they're all locals to my hometown. So that movie hit me so differently, and it opened my eyes, because as a child with a lighter skin, as a Native American, I was picked on. I was told, you're not Native American. You can't be like, you're not dark
Wow.
enough.
Right.
And it always hurt as a kid. And ironically enough, and I'll get into this in the podcast, is it really is a full circle moment even with that, right? Because those kids that picked on me, that bullied me, that made me not feel like I belonged, are some of my best friends today. And so, and I tell people, persistence is key. And I do believe in killing people with kindness. There is also the other show that I'm fingers crossing, because he's a family friend of ours. Ryan Redcorn is a huge film name in the Osages, and he wrote and produced a show called Reservation Dogs, or where I come from, they call it Res Dogs. And so of course, I was so giddy. I was like, yeah, like we have Native American representation on TV. What I was not prepared for was, it was like somebody followed us around like a 2000s MTV Crew TV show and filmed all of the BS that we were doing. We never stole a bread truck, and I think that's the only thing that we never did, that those kids did in that TV show. So, but being Native American, it's always instilled in you that you are who you are. And it's very ironic to me that we live in a world that chooses to suppress homosexuals and chooses to silence homosexuality, because in Native American culture, it's celebrated. They have what they call two spirits. And so,
Can you explain that? Because I've heard that two spirits before. And what does that actually mean?
So two spirits is basically, my understanding, is a Native American way of acknowledging homosexuality. So you could be a man that dresses more effeminate. You could be a woman that dresses more masculine. It's kind of comical to me that our society, we have androgynous, we have non-binary, we have all these different things that describe appearance or sexuality. Whereas I feel like Native Americans sum it up in two words, two spirits. And so they're not making you pick, but there are ceremonial dances that you will see a man. And to be completely honest, I have several Native American family members that are trans, and they're celebrated. Yeah. I wouldn't say that they're put on a pedestal, but they're not treated any differently, and they're never in danger like we hear in American culture today. So
can I add something?
Yeah.
So there also, Stevie, there are certain cultures as well. If I'm not mistaken, the Yaqui culture, that the Two Spirit, they actually believe that these people are so, their impact in their community is so much greater that you actually have two souls, and that's why you are kind of queer presenting. Because there actually believes in some cultures that they're elevated than the common people, which are like single gender, single soul people. So it's very interesting and very different to what the Europeans wanted us.
Yeah.
Well, and to his point, I mean, it's said that some of them are medicine men and, medicine women and things. So they held positions that some people had to work really hard to get. And it came with respect that some people had to work really hard to get. So being Native American, yes, it has its crazy. And yes, I could spend all day telling you some fantastically unrealistic stories. But at the end of the day, being Native American is a privilege. Yeah. And it's something that we all hold dear. And I think it's where my personality shines growing up on a reservation. And I live in a predominantly white community is the best way to put that. And so all of my friends, all of the girlfriends that I have are in their 40s. Some are divorced, some are married, remarried, have kids in college. But talking to them about Native American culture, it was like, you lived on a reservation. It's almost like they looked at me like I drove a horse and buggy to school.
Mhm.
Like, and so it's just, it's one of those things that in US history we are not taking away, and Native Americans have been extremely resilient on, and it's been who we are. We're here.
Yeah, I mean, if you listen to, you have a new podcast, like we mentioned, coming out. It's called Why Not on a Second Thought, correct?
So the first like little intro is called Why Not? The podcast itself is On a Second Thought, because I have honestly thought, as I've gotten older, looked back at life and said, if I had just taken a second thought, I may not have done that. That was stupid. And I am, one of the biggest things that I've been guilty of is giving love where it's not deserved. And maybe that's because of the absence in my life that I've had as a child at times, and then as an adult. But I just ultimately, I have always been, I don't ever want somebody to potentially feel what I've been left to feel. And me taking that away from somebody has made me feel like I've done my part. So even if it's an inconvenience, and that's, I mean, I'm not asking for sainthood. I'm not asking for any of that. But to me, it's just, I've lived in a hard world my whole life. And to be completely honest, to your point in the intro, what I didn't get a chance to tell you, it kind of came up. So while yes, I am friends with my ex-husband, the person that I had spoke of in the first time that I was with you guys with the false misread, that relationship caused me to move. That was the first breakup that I had ever experienced, that I was like, I physically can't be here anymore. And when I got divorced, we kept in touch. We stayed friends. We even went to dinner a couple of times. And not that there was a hope of ever that rekindling. If it had, great. I would have been thrilled. But I had to practice what was given, the grace that was given to me. So Christmas is this gay guy's favorite holiday. I mean, it's right there, and then Halloween. At Christmas in 2024, so that following year, had made him, he's a huge Swiftie, been to the Eras Tour plenty of times, paid his debts to society. I made him a tumbler for Christmas, and I had given him some personal stuff, and I was met with him wearing an engagement ring. And the lump in my throat, I was like, I can't breathe, and my heart dropped. And
So he's engaged now, is what you're saying?
He's married now.
Married now, okay.
They got married in December, and so I was like, well, I guess we go back to December, no pun intended. But but the thing that stopped me was, if you recall, when I brought that up the first time, is that I was the one telling him, hey, I'm married, I'm getting married, I'm this, I'm that. And he had that same reaction that I had. And his reaction was, if he makes you happy, if he loves you, that's all I could ask for. And so, and that I feel like high school is trivial. I feel like adulthood is like really when you take off the shoes and the socks and you play in the dirt. And I learned so much from that relationship, that when we get to that in the podcast, I don't know how long that's going to be, because I've learned so much from that. But one of the things that I've always preached out of that relationship is unconditional love means just that, unconditional. It doesn't mean only with me. Sometimes the unconditional part is seeing them walk away with somebody else. So
absolutely,
that's the only thing that gave me sanity.
Yeah, and I feel like there's so much that you can dive into in this new endeavor podcast. One of the things that you were talking a lot about when you originally were on the show was about your misdiagnosed HIV status in 2015, and then realizing in 2021 that you actually you almost died pretty much, and the healthcare that you had at the time was not much on a reservation. We just, there was a recent Advocate story that I thought was kind of interesting. There's a show on The Advocate called The Talk. They're talking about if you get a new HIV diagnosis, it doesn't have to be nerve-wracking, and there's all the journey that people are sharing today in 2026. What can you share with us about your status, what you want people to know, and will you be diving into it in your show and on your podcast?
So, I mean, really and truthfully, the thing of it is at the end of the day, I'm 32 years old. This happened when I was 27 during COVID. So, since that, I can say that I've successfully saved a friend's life. I got a phone call at 2:30 in the morning. My phone rang. I was so happy that it was on, and he said, hysterically, I was like I would have thought somebody died, and he said, "You have 3 minutes to tell me why I shouldn't pull this trigger." And I said, "Wait, what?" And he said, "I got diagnosed. I'm sitting here and I've got this gun to my head. Talk me off the ledge." And that is a lot of pressure to put on somebody when you're half awake.
Wow.
I woke up very quickly, but it's like I told him, I said, your life doesn't have to be over. And truthfully, I took it as, yes, there was a walkthrough. Yes, I thought of the other people around me, right? So I withheld this from my family. My grandmother, who I'm extremely close to, she actually found out from somebody else and called and chewed me out. And I said, I'm just keeping your mentality in mind, because I realized that there are people that were alive when this happened initially comes to America. They saw people die. You saw people be crushed. I looked at this, and like I think I mentioned in the first time around, is like I have survivor's guilt, right? Because I look at the people in the 80s and go, you shouldn't have lost a life. You should still be here with us. But I looked at it, I guess the outcome came around to be, it was a second chance at life. And so to me, I look at this almost like cancer, right? So cancer patients, they always have, you can go into full remission and be A-okay. But they say statistically, you have a 10% higher chance of, if you've had cancer once, that it can come back. And it may not be the same cancer. It could be a different kind of cancer. I look at this the same way. As long as I continue medications, do all the things, I'm going to be fine. And I've been fine for 5 years. I do worry about mental health. I can only speak for here. I just had this discussion with somebody today about, because they're quite a bit older, and they were saying, I'm realizing this about myself, but I'm afraid to jump into it physically because I can't erase what's been placed there from when I was younger and saw it for myself. And so, we can say all day long it's 2026, but to those people, they still might be living in the 80s and in the 90s. So
Sure.
I had to remind him, and he said, thank you for saying that. So it's just a second chance at life, truly.
Yeah. Ted, what do you?
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I think that we have to look at our brothers and sisters from the 80s and even before the pandemic as, as an ancestral success story, right? So we see it on their shoulders, and we get to enjoy these things of PrEP and all those things that are really fun, but also we see it on, and so let's put that energy into, improving our communities for sure. So I listened to your first episode on Spotify, and it's a solo podcast, isn't it? So it's gonna be you telling the story. Can you tell us a little bit more of the format and the overarching story of your podcast?
So the podcast initially, yes. And I have dabbled initially. So I plan to do a multi-season with this because I'm like, there's no way I could cram a bunch of
You renew
this.
yourself already. Love it.
I know.
I could rush it,
sign of
but why
success.
would I do that? So to be completely honest, I mean, I said I wouldn't have any like guest speakers on that first season. But then talking to my childhood best friends and telling them about this, they're like, I'm so game to do this. And I was like, of course you are. We love clout. So I'm honestly thinking that we're having to overcome some distance and things. But episode 3 is looking like I'll get the gang back together. Haven't
Oh.
quite decided what we're going to call that. We used to call ourselves the Fort Kids. If you get on Urban Dictionary and look up Fort Apache,
Mm-hmm.
it is legitimately like a term, and it describes my neighborhood to a T.
Okay.
So, but we were the Fort Kids growing up. We were the
Mhm.
kids of the 90s beating each other with sticks. But the overall truly is going to be just touching on different things through life. I think most people will be pleased with the way that it comes out in the end. There might be something big to announce at the end of that. So I would say stay tuned for that. So, but I'm not putting a definite like timeline, right? I'm planning on trying to release every Thursday or every other Thursday. The goal was 10 episodes a season. So we'll see how that goes. I am leaving for Kesha in 2 days. So I'm going to go see Kesha in Dallas. And so I'm going with a friend, and they've never been to Dallas as an adult. So that's going to be a lot of exploring. They've never even landed inside of an IKEA, and I can't wait to take that away from them. But yeah, so it's just overall, I think it will be accumulation. I don't want to say like an audiobook, right? Because that's not what a podcast is, but
Yeah.
similar.
Yeah, I know tutorial experience. I love a little tease. Love it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I love you're living your life now, and you seem like a totally different place from when we talked to you back in 2023. I can't help but wonder, what is life like living in Oklahoma? I know you said you were raised on a reservation growing up. Now you still live in Oklahoma, not on a reservation, but you've been inducted in, probably not the right word to use, but through various tribes. People can hear it on that intro podcast. But I always curious to know in various parts, what is life, gay life, LGBTQ life in Oklahoma look like? And how do you partake in it with the community, if at all?
So I feel like, again, I'm 32, so the energy level has gone down drastically.
Oh my God, not a 32 girl.
I enjoy a good
You got a
patio
rattle
setting.
I know.
I enjoy a good patio setting. I enjoy some
a recliner.
Right. A lazy boy, if you could put that on the backyard. But
Oh
no.
my God.
Oklahoma is growing. I think we're in a trying time. We may have our first Native American governor, which would be amazing.
Ooh.
Her name is Cindy Munson, and I'm thrilled. I really hope that she gets it. But I feel like we feel it just like everybody else that's kind of in our same boat, right? So we've had protests. We actually had our governor say we couldn't protest the Capitol because of trans, and literally stepping on First Amendment rights, freedom to. So it's like, this is cool. This is interesting. I keep to myself though, purely because it just feels like that's the easiest thing to do. I'm very selective. I'm very choosy because our community is so small, and I've joked, I'm like, we're almost incestuous. Like, I can't meet somebody that hasn't slept with this friend or like dated that friend or whatever. And so you dwindle everything down. So I'm always amazed to see kind of where things go here. It's very simple. I think, quite honestly, if you haven't, there was a Hulu special that you should absolutely check out called We Are Here. And it covered drag queens in Oklahoma. And so they went to Bartlesville, that was a town over from where I grew up, Tulsa, where I lived at one point, and then they came to Oklahoma City. It was devastating to watch, to see businesses being vandalized, drag queens being oppressed and told, you can't be here, we don't want you here. And it was an eye-opener. And I've had 2 friends physically assaulted. One was in intensive care for being, him and his boyfriend went to dinner, were followed out to their car, and were met with 3 men with 2x4s and baseball bats, and completely destroyed their car and destroyed, like, it was awful. and it caused some severe mental health issues for him after the fact. He started saying, "I deserve this. This is God's will," and it's like this is what they want you to believe, but this is not what we deserve. So it's just, and again, I think that's why something like this podcast would be helpful, because I'm an Oklahoman telling a story, and I'm a very quiet person. I know it's hard to believe, but I'm generally a quiet person because I'm always observing, because I feel like I have to. Our violence really goes back to 2015 I guess it was 2016, the Pulse shooting that had happened in Florida.
Mhm.
I was go-going, and we had a bar manager that noticed that shooter's face on the screen and played back our tapes. And he had been in our bar like 2 months prior to the Pulse shooting.
Shoot.
Wow.
And
scary.
so our minds go to a horrible place, and you just think, is he a copycat? I mean, and we maybe wouldn't feel that way if we didn't have the bombing in Oklahoma City in 95. So I think he was sadly let down with the population. I think that's why he went to a place like Florida, is because of their population and in that nightclub. But it's always on edge, and you just kind of watch, and that's life.
Well, Johnny, incredible. You're such an incredible storyteller. From the moment you had the initial conversation with Cody and myself just on the phone, to guesting in 2023, to your evolution, you are a voice. You are shining a light on what we, so much a part of the world that we need to learn more about Oklahoma. And your particular story is so incredible. And we want people to check out your brand new podcast. It's called On a Second Thought. It's on Spotify right now. When will the first episodes come out, and how should people follow you?
So I am currently in the works. TikTok has been giving me some grief, and I've been in some issues with Apple trying to get it on there. But right now, TikTok would be great. I'm in the works of putting out a Facebook. If you would like, I can give you my Instagram, and people can reach me there until I can get the rest of this up and going.
And then you message me when the show's actually live, and we will put it out there and make another announcement. But how should people follow you on Instagram?
So I can give everybody my handle, or I can give it to you at the end. And if you want to tag it in this, you can. Both.
Just give it now, and I'll also put it in the show notes.
So my Instagram handle is going to be, Lord help me. It's Jonathan, Jonathon Anderson, traditional spelling like Cooper, 9916 altogether, lowercase. You can catch me on there. I'm probably on there more than anything. Threads is the same way. I love that Threads, Instagram, and Facebook have all kind of merged.
Yep.
We love a good meta movement. So you can catch me on really any of those. And then as things kind of go along, they'll have their own platforms. I have TikTok kind of up and going, but I don't want to give anybody, because it could get confusing. So for now, you guys can reach me there. And then, like I said, I'll make those announcements as shifts start to happen.
Thank you so much, John. So enlightening, and I can't wait for your show to drop. And just we'll keep in contact with all of this. But really, thank you so much for coming back on Tags Live.
I need to throw out an important thing before I let you guys go.
Yes.
Sure.
So COVID, because this all happened in COVID, what I don't know if anybody knows, especially here in Oklahoma, is because of the mRNA research that they had to do to make those treatments. After rumors and speculation, I finally asked my doctor, and they said, we're on the heels of actually curing HIV. So they said within the next 10 years, it should be completely extinguished. So for those that may just get newly diagnosed, it is important to remember that there is a light at the end of that tunnel.
What a good note and positive note to end on. Thank you so much, John. We'll talk to you soon.
You're welcome.
I just published a new piece on my Substack, The Naked Truth Steve. It's called What I Was Really Looking For in the Dark Room. And while there was sex, of course there was, the sex was only part of it. I was also looking for connection, validation, freedom, maybe even a version of myself I hadn't fully met yet. This story is about desire, fear, shame, and what can happen when we finally give ourselves permission to step into the dark. Read it now at The Naked Truth Steve, at The Naked Truth Steve on Substack, or get the link.
Most people don't realize how much of their personal information is being bought and sold every day. Data brokers are making billions pulling details about you from public records and the internet, then packaging and selling it, usually without your consent. That's how your information lands in the hands of scammers, spammers, even stalkers. That's where Aura comes in. Aura actively removes your data from broker sites and keeps it off. They also instantly alert you if your information shows up in a breach or on the dark web. But Aura goes beyond data protection. With one app, you get a VPN, antivirus, password manager, spam call protection, dark web monitoring, and even up to $5 million in identity theft insurance. All backed by 24/7 US-based fraud support. Other companies might just sell credit monitoring or just a VPN. Aura gives you all of that together at the same price competitors charge for just one service. Start your free trial today at aura.com/prevent. Protect yourself now at aura.com/prevent.
In show notes or at tagspodcast.com.
Oh my gosh, so
Oh my goodness.
good. Wow.
I have heard that too.
Yeah.
It's specifically with the mRNA. So wouldn't that be cool
Okay.
to announce it in the show? That
It would be, absolutely. And I liked how we ended on that note. Oh my gosh,
Yes.
we've got to get into hot topics. There was a
So
lot.
many, huh?
So many. When this was very disturbing, and I
Yes.
hope he's okay. When Perez Hilton, many of you know him, Perez Hilton was live streaming last night and had an attempted suicide on TikTok. He's been hospitalized and in an unknown condition. And
Mhm.
there's been a lot of speculation because people really were watching this, and
Mhm.
he was cutting himself with a butcher knife, and it lasted 30 minutes. And people are calling out TikTok because they're actually saying things like, why did TikTok allow this to go on for so long? Even when people were calling into Miami police. There's been other speculation that, he has 3 kids, Teddy, and
Yeah.
he recently moved from Las Vegas to Miami and started to pick up life there. Well, TMZ reported that he kind of had the high life there. He could get free things. He was a well-known entity there, but in Miami, he's not as well known, and
Mhm.
his money isn't, as much as it was before. So that's one of the reasons people are speculating that he's in a downward spiral. His kids, by the way, the 3 kids were not in the house when he was doing this live stream, and he is hospitalized. He's also taking care of his elderly mother and moved her as well to Miami. But what did you think when you heard this and all of this? It's crazy, right?
Well, first, I want to say if anybody has any suicide thoughts or ideation, please reach out to your friends, call somebody. And there's all this help available to you before you commit anything like that.
Yeah.
It's horrifying.
Horrifying.
have-
I mean, did you see any of the pictures of?
I've seen some screenshots. I have been intentionally avoiding it because
Yeah.
it's really, the images are
Disturbing.
very intense. Yeah. So, he works in an environment, specifically social media, that is known to cause harm to mental health. So there are a lot of things that these algorithms are actually playing with our mental health, and that has been documented. So I can see some good coming out of this, that it's like there needs to be some changes in the way that they're putting together these algorithms and how much harms they're causing. In terms of what I saw, I feel hurt about seeing somebody hurting that much. And I know that we do have a lot of kind of like, he's been like a very controversial figure in our
Right.
community because he has caused harm to other people too. But at the same time, I don't want to see him hurt. So I just hope he gets the help that he needs and that his kids are well taken care of because they need him. So
Yeah.
I'm like at a loss of even what to say because it's just been so horrifying, to be honest.
Yeah, I mean, you bring up some really good points. I think that, anytime you use social media to document what your mental breakdown is going through, it's a cry for help. And you're
Absolutely.
really in a dark place. Clearly, he knew enough to not have the children there, but he is in a dark place. And that's when we don't need to kick people when they're down. Doesn't matter what
Mhm.
they're, he's sort of changed his ways throughout the years where he was
Yeah.
at the forefront back in the day. TMZ and him were at the forefront, but
Mhm.
of really capitalizing on celebrity and really kind of putting them in a dark place, if you will. Brittany, all of them,
Yeah,
and
even in people that were suffering through mental health crises too. So
he did too. And so I know there's not a lot of sympathy in certain circles for him, but regardless, he has, I think, changed and turned a new leaf throughout the years. And when somebody goes on social media like that, it's a cry for help. It does, because there's been other stories too of people using TikTok and it going way too far than it should, and people
mhm.
witnessing these kind of things that are really dangerous. That I don't know, you know. I mean, thank goodness they were able to get to him to talk him off the ledge, but it's just scary. So, yeah, that's all I
Absolutely.
think. Yeah. So we wish him well, and I'm sure it's an ongoing story. Okay. Well, this was interesting when I just thought this was kind of interesting because I don't shop a lot at Walmart, although I do when I'm in Puerto Vallarta with my sister. And there was an employee that
Uh-huh.
had his picture taken in the parking lot by a
Mhm.
woman and she posted it in her universe, and she
Mhm.
wrote, "What in the great value is going on here?" Caption: the woman who shared the photo of a Walmart employee who was on her Threads account, and the person in question, which I think has got like a great look to him. He's got his head
Mhm.
shaved, his hair is super long. He had major, think of Boy George eyeliner makeup,
Yeah.
and looking kind of fierce, actually, in my mind.
Mhm.
But she was basically took his picture, calling him out, and his response, actually, I think what the great part of this story is that his friend showed him the picture that, hey, somebody just took your picture in the parking lot. And he said, oh my
Yeah.
gosh. And he started to feel bad about it for a half a second, and then realized, what the fuck? The picture's actually good. And took it to his manager, in which case the Walmart manager actually supported him, and they've been looking into it, investigating who this person was that took this picture and put something so blasphemous on social media.
Mhm.
And kudos to Walmart on this case, and kudos to him, because ultimately he addressed it. I could have felt bad, he basically was saying, but that actually I'm proud of the way I am, and this is a new job, and I'm proud to work for Walmart, and I was helping
Mhm.
somebody put groceries in their trunk, and I don't have any, give two fucks about any of this. And so, what did you think about this when you heard it? It was almost a heartwarming story of
Yeah.
big business and somebody really not backing down on being proud of who they are.
Yeah, the funny thing is how sad your life is when you get banned from the local Walmart.
Yeah.
You know what
I
I mean?
mean,
You're a Walmart. You're talking about a great value. You're at a Walmart. You need to calm down, take a chill pill. Please go home, lady. She's too sad.
If this is your life that you have
Yeah.
to your daily inspiration or what you're up in arms at is taking a picture in a parking lot
Right.
of
And
somebody working their ass off and a new job, making a
Mhm.
living that clearly
Yeah.
the big company supports, and you have mitigated it now to posting this and judging somebody.
Yeah.
What is that? Yeah.
And it's sad. It's gonna be sad for you because if you're in one of these towns where the only thing it's the Walmart, you know what I mean?
Yeah, right.
You're messed up because then you don't
If
even have a place.
Walmart is your place of social, yeah. I mean,
And some of these towns, that's how it is. When I was in Lubbock, there's like 3 Walmarts, and that's the only place to go after like 7. Like so, so
yeah,
it's
yeah.
bad. It's bad news all around. Miss
Abs-
Karen.
Miss Karen, exactly. Well, if you are somehow, missing Heated Rivalry because it's not coming back until next spring 2027, they
Mhm.
just started production of season 2, so calm your asses down now.
Yeah.
One way I have that I wanted to talk about, and then we'll talk about the controversy that is coming up right now.
Mhm.
If you come to New York, there's an off-Broadway, unauthorized Heated Rivalry musical that is getting actually really good reviews. And Diego and it's like on my bucket list. I think it goes through November.
Yeah.
But we also, Diego is always on TikTok and found this really good TikToker said, if you're in withdrawal from Heated Rivalry, there is a really good show also on HBO Max that we binged it. Did we watch it the whole thing yesterday, Diego? I think we did. It's called Proud, and it's set in, where is it set?
Oh my
Poland.
goodness.
Sorry, I know he's not being a good producer right now. It's set in Poland, but it's really riveting and really good.
I need
It's
to watch
sexy
that.
characters, really, really excellent. However, back to the Heated Rivalry right now, the crew on season 2 production are asking nosy fans to kindly puck off, if you will, get it?
Fuck off.
Hockey,
Mhm.
puck off during season 2 production when the creator said to our incredible fans and everyone who's been sharing in the excitement for the show, your support, enthusiasm, and kindness have meant the world to us as we gear up for Heated Rivalry. Please help us in making it the best it can be. If you happen to come across one of our filming locations, please give our cast and crew the space they need to do what they do best. We promise it'll be worth it. And lastly, Teddy, I would just say that one of the main characters, so there is Hunter, yes?
Sure.
One of the main
I'm not
characters
the biggest fan of that show. Do you know that?
I know you are, was stalked recently in, I believe, Paris.
Oh, yeah.
And
Mhm.
they kept following him around, paparazzi, and it's gotten that bad. And I think that's where a lot of this stems from. But what do you say to this on when people, I mean, I've been a fan of Sex and the City forever. I'm a huge Madonna fan. I am not stalking Madonna. And when they were doing Sex and the City, going to it's like, I can wait for the album and the new series. That's just like every other fan.
Super toxic, super annoying. It's really hard to be on set. And I know that most people don't have the concept of what it takes to make something that is filmed,
Production.
but it's so much work. And when you're probably ruining takes, you're probably holding back. You're actually pushing back probably the date because I'm pretty sure that the producer is moving dates around just so y'all don't come. So it's really annoying, and it ruins also the experience, not only for the actors but also for the people that follow the show, because now in the article there's pictures of what they're going to look like for the second season. So that's already ruined plot points for us. So it's just bad behavior, bad form. Stay at home, don't come to set. There's nothing there for you. Wait until the thing comes out, please.
Yeah, I mean, what happened to the days where you just waited? I mean, I can remember back in the day in the 80s where I was a huge fan. I'm just going to throw out Knots Landing, Donna Mills, and I loved it. And I mention it because we did a story. Donna Mills at 85 is starting her own OnlyFans at 85, and it's incredible, and I love it. But remember the days of the cliffhanger in May of a really
Mm-hmm.
good nighttime
Right.
soap like Dynasty Knots, Dallas. You had to wait 3 months till September for
Yeah.
the whatever cliffhanger it was, who shot JR, whatever it was, and you just had to wait around. And yes, there was, the tabloids speculating here and there, but that was it. You went on about your business. People, go on about your business. Live your summer. Do not stalk celebrities, TV shows. It is fiction. These are performers. At
Mm-hmm.
the end of the day, they are people.
Right.
It's like, get a life. And I'm sorry, that sounds harsh, but get a life.
Right.
Find your own thing. You can still be a fan. Like I've been a fan of so many things, and respect, but live your life. Don't like
Yeah.
stalk people.
It's interesting because Rosie O'Donnell is doing one woman show now, right?
Yeah.
And she's been doing the podcast verse, interviews, and she was talking about how much her quality of life has improved moving
Living in,
in Ireland, because most people do leave her alone. It's just like, and they will know who she is. And she tells this wonderful story on this podcast a couple of days ago, and she's saying, I had this wonderful conversation with this woman. We spent 3 hours together by the pool, and then at the end she was like, oh, by the way, I'm a big fan. And that's a different story as opposed to people sneaking around in the restaurant when you're eating and trying to take a picture. This guy Connor got followed in Paris to like have like some random things picture. I'm like, girl, I'm in vacation. I'm not
yeah,
even in the United States or in Canada. Like, come on.
it's just leave people alone. I mean, it's, on a tiny, minuscule level, when we've had people come up to us in various levels. I know you have, Cody, myself, Jeremy. It's lovely because people, and I always find that people that come up to us for the podcast telling us
Hmm.
how oh my gosh, are you Teddy? Are you Steve of Tag's podcast? They're almost like, hi, I'm a big fan of the show. And it's lovely. I couldn't imagine that times 25, what a lot of these celebrities have to go through where they're filming. I was just such a minuscule.
Yeah, but
And
the
yeah,
experience is different because imagine us doing the live right now and
yeah,
somebody's like trying to like be in it while we're
right.
filming. That's the difference, right? As
Yeah,
opposed to a hi hello, or you're going getting your groceries and somebody's following you for a full 2 hours. Because
yeah.
that's what happened to Connor. People are following him from like he's been like all day. That's what happened. So it's different because there's a boundary that should be in place and people are not following it.
Moving on to something
Yes.
that I think is great. There's a 10,000 square foot world-class bathhouse potentially coming to New York City. New York City is
Mhm.
arguably one of the biggest cities ever. I live here, and two outstate lawmakers are trying to change it, bring back the bathhouse, because
Mhm.
like other cities, and I'll name them, on Tuesday, State Senator Eric Botcher and Assemblyman Tony Simone announced they're partnering in an effort to bring bathhouses back to Manhattan. And their proposed law would call for New York State's health department to repeal its AIDS era restriction on the spaces. And if you think about it, San Francisco had the same thing too, where back in the AIDS epidemic, bathhouses were basically off limits. They closed them
Mhm.
down. And while that may have been the choice at the time, it's never been repealed in some of these cities. And it started to become like, oh, would you have a thing against gay sex? And these two assemblymen and people, they're really trying to bring it back, and in a way that is today 2026. What do you say to this, on this renewed interest on destigmatizing the
Mhm.
bathhouse from the AIDS epidemic era to creating spaces, as many argue, that will keep people safe in an enclosed environment?
I think it's great. I low-key was horrified when I realized that New York didn't have bathhouses. Sorry, Eagle, you're not a bathhouse. So,
Right.
you know, um, and so we do have bathhouses in LA. So we are kind of a privilege in that way. There are rumors that they're turning their old amoeba into a huge bathhouse. I don't know how true that is.
Amoeba on Cahuenga?
Yeah,
And
which is like 4 levels. It's that's what I heard.
that would be
It
amazing.
has
Diego and
been
I are moving to LA.
there's something happening there though. Um yeah, because these places were deemed like a hazard to the public, and that makes sense for like the HIV pandemic, like the big uprising of numbers. But then that's what the article says, is that they basically kept that in place, and that's why it's weird that like there are bathhouses in Texas, Dallas, Florida, Philly, and then there's none in New York and I think the Bay Area either. So that's I hope for the sake of our community in New York City that happens. I am very excited for you.
I mean, in the name of Bathhouse Betty, and
Uh-huh.
just Bette Midler back in the
I
day,
know.
where Bette Midler used to do performances in the bathhouse, and her accompanist was none other than, oh my gosh, what is Your Name is Rio. Um,
Um. Oh my God! I went to
I
see him in
know.
concert.
Yes.
Barry
They
Manilow.
Barry Manilow, thank you so much. And they performed back in the day where it really was the place to go. It was not. It was a safe space. Obviously, AIDS epidemic happened, but it's like then nothing happened after that, and Reagan era and all that
Hmm.
happened. And so it's time to repeal some of these to actually say, I've noticed, at least in our city here, beyond this 10,000 square foot, hopefully building that will erect somewhere, and one of the places was Chelsea, is that we're seeing a lot more dark rooms pop up all over. I don't know about
Yeah.
LA over there, but it's
Here too. Yeah.
yeah, and it's kind of a cool thing to see.
It's interesting because there's a connection, and there's this research. I'm not. This is not my area, but I've seen some works done in how there's a connection within the apps and the fall of gay bars. But something that it's been like taking the bars back. It's kind of creating that cruising back into the bar, and some of it's intentional, like the dark rooms, because people do want, that is part of the socialization aspect, right? That there's the hookup scene as well. So
Queer gay socialization that I've
mhm,
always attributed to early days here, back 70s, 80s. But then
mhm,
if you go to Europe, certain parts of Europe, Berlin, Spain, there's always a bar, but then there's a dark room, and you can just kind of Paris, and you can kind
mhm.
of enjoy all of it. And it's nice to see that finally now we're seeing, even in this political climate, they're popping up right now again. And
Yeah,
so I do think there's really good things happening even within this political atmosphere that's very, refreshing. So yeah,
absolutely.
absolutely. I think we have time to do one of our favorite segments, Thirst Trap, and a
Yeah,
new one
that,
came out. I put it for those of you watching in our chat, and the idea is Straight Up Gay Porn puts together this week a Thirst Trap recap, asking which of these adult performers, this week 15, took the best photo. And we love Straight Up Gay Porn because they put together a really good, photo log of some of the best. It's our job, because basically we're an audio podcast, to vividly
mhm.
describe why and who we picked. But you can always see this on our Patreon page. Go to patreon.com/tags podcast, and I'll post this up there. But who did you pick and why? Vividly tell us why, Teddy.
Yeah, this one is kind of a cheat because he's a couple, but
Okay.
Braxton Cruz and Marcus Knight.
There's
They
a couple
are,
couples.
yeah, is this a couple version? But they are kind of like in the middle of doing kind of like they're fucking like by the bathroom,
Oh,
and
right.
he is kind of dilated, and like the top, it's like really hard, so it's just you can tell that they're like mid,
It's
like
like an action
fucking.
shot.
Oh, and they're just both of them are so hot, and like you can see sex in their eyes. I'm just
They
really
are.
liking this one.
I feel like it's a captured moment. Like we're in the middle of it,
Yeah.
and let's go. Yeah, Braxton Cruz and Marcus Knight. If you like that one, there was a few here. I mean, Hung Jake L.A. is sitting back and with the thickest cock ever and a mustache that reminds me of my husband Diego,
Oh,
and he's just ready to. It's slicked up, but I have to say, because we, in light of Heated Rivalry not being around for a while, we are watching this show. We binged it, called Proud. Greg
mhm.
Kelly is my pick. Because he has the same haircut that the lead of
Oh,
Proud has, and it's that blonde, wavy kind of thing, and he kind of resembles, but his booty, he's showing his booty off in a very expensive looking loft, I might add, and the booty is for days, and the lower back
yeah.
is real, and he's sipping a mimosa, I would say, but it's that blonde thing that's reminding me of that show Proud, which you all need to watch on HBO Max. Support it, because HBO Max, they don't like to renew stuff.
Absolutely.
Diego, you picked Dom the Bull. Dom the Bull. Okay, we can see why. Any couple words you want to share why? Anyway, yeah. So,
And Doug said Whitezican. Says
okay,
damn that ass. And Johnny, sadly, that website
Johnny.
is blocked in Oklahoma. So fuck that.
That's a real thing.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. VPN is the real thing right now, right?
Yeah, you need a VPN, Johnny.
Yeah. Gotta be. Oh my gosh. We want to thank Johnny, our special guest, for being on the show today.
Yes.
So enlightening. Teddy, you can follow you at Teddy Alexis on Instagram. I know you're enjoying your hot summer boy. What, anything you want to promote, or anything you're watching, or anything?
I am presenting at the Latinx Carnival. I'm going to be in one of the panels, which is in San Diego in 3 weekends. So that's going to be exciting. It's the Latino Theater Commons. They're fund me to go to San Diego. So we'll see what happens that weekend. Wink, wink.
Sure. And send us a link, because we'll promote you when it's happening. And for those that are
Absolutely.
going to it, we can, absolutely. Follow me on the gram. I am _Steve V. And oh my gosh, so much fun. Show notes, we'll have all the links to everything. And in the meantime, continue having hot gay sex. Love it.
If you like the show, please take a moment to rate, review, and subscribe. It really does help the show to grow. Thank you for listening.